Stand your fucking ground. Right, that's the oath that you took. Not to them, but to us, the country. So you remember that when it comes up. You too coming up. You make sure you talk to them. I'm not doing this to admonish you. I'm doing this to make you remember. And when they force you out to cut these off, you're cutting down one of your own. That could have easily been on the other side of that fence if they had the opportunity to live. They don't get to stand on that side of the fence, nor this side of the fence, because they're gone. Wrong side.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's the Resistance. We are waiting the verdict of the Derek Chauvin trial, ladies and gentlemen. It is expected to come up shortly. I ask that y'all stay tuned.
Hit the lights! Everybody about to get killed out here. Like it for everybody.
Right now we are watching people protesting in front of the government, in front of the courthouse in Minneapolis, Minnesota. People are waiting to hear the verdict as well, just as much as we are. Let's stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen.
You have to step into your own power and realize that only we can liberate ourselves. They are not going to liberate us. They are not going to liberate us.
Are you in an area in which you're not equipped to handle it, and you seem to handle it with violence instead of de-escalation? But why do you still want more money every year in this law and order mindset that we're under siege by crime when crime is going down? And so politicians are always afraid to cut the budgets of police departments.
Shout outs to everybody in the chat who's here on this channel to await the verdict of Derek Chauvin. Y'all let me know what y'all think. I want to give a special shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to the Queen, Renetta Williams, all the way from Wynn, Arkansas. DJ K. Dr. Party. What up, my guy? Level Eyes to See. Peanut 411. Paul Jackson, Spooky Press on Free. Mike Scott believes that he's not guilty, ladies and gentlemen. We have a difference of opinion than the majority of the people here in the Resistance stream. Mike Scott feels as though he's not guilty. Stand Up Against Tyrants, he feels as though Derek Chauvin is not guilty. We have a couple people in here who is in favor of Mr. Chauvin. You know what I think about that? Hey there, Mr. Chauvin, that's your ass. Your ass is grass. That's your ass, that's your ass. Hey there, Mr. Chauvin, that's your ass. Your ass is grass. That's your ass, that's your ass. Hey there, Mr. Chauvin. 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 That's your ass. Your ass is grass.
The police restrained and the oxygen George Floyd was taking in is pinned to the ground. George Floyd knuckles and the like, and then of course the defense doing its best to bring out some other thoughts and processes, questioning it. It's good to have a system that challenges one another, where a jury ends up being the unbiased arbiter of a situation. And that's what we're watching unfold here. The defense had its.
Shout outs to Media Soundbite, Melvin Garth, Phil Palmer, Joshua Cepeda, MCRYD, Beach Life. We are waiting Derek Chauvin verdict, ladies and gentlemen. It should be coming up shortly. The time is now 4:39 Eastern Standard Time. We were told that the verdict would be announced between 4:30, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that would be 3:30, 5 p.m. Minneapolis time. Y'all stay tuned, y'all. It's about to go down. Either way, we about to hear this verdict. Can we trust the process? It's the resistance.
They had some extra fencing, right? We all know the whole building was fortified, but then they had fencing posts at different spots where they could close off blocks to kind of give more of a shield.
Shout out News Now 702.
City Hall, the Hennepin County Government Center.
So
according to this report, it sounded like they must have closed down one of those extra barricades there. But it's a really interesting vantage from being up here because as
Old cigarette, hope that they find them not guilty.
To the government center behind me to be here for this historic and global impactful moment. There also is sort of a mass
Old Cigarette says, I hope they find him not guilty. Old Cigarette, I am going to put the link in the chat. I would like for you to come up and explain why you would like them to find him not guilty. Old Cigarette in the stream, ladies and gentlemen. He is for Derek Chauvin. And the link should be coming up in 3, 2, 1.
We know they cleared out government buildings, the federal courthouse on the other side of the Hennepin County Government Center. They cleared out everybody. They are very concerned about what comes next, guys, after this verdict is read. The preparation has been done. Is everybody?
That person said there are a lot of people on edge as we wait any minute now for this verdict.
Any minute, ladies and gentlemen. Shout outs to Edgewood Craig from my hometown.
Bird's eye view.
Yo,
right now that's on the ground of this picture. Danny,
crystal clear audits.
Well, Randy, what's jumping out to me right now is, of course, the National Guard has been such a presence downtown, and of course, has almost become a part of daily life for those who live in Minneapolis during this trial. Normally, they have 2 soldiers that are stationed sort of on top.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got the one and only Mike Jones backstage. We're going to bring him up in a few minutes.
Right now, they have about a half dozen.
Let him weigh on what he think the outcome is going to be.
Just kind of keeping watch, and right now there are just small groups of people that are
Adrian Daniels.
on the government center.
He says not guilty equals World War III. Shouts Wake Up America.
And there's traffic leaving downtown, still seeing some cars that are, even at this late hour, with those who know that a verdict is coming within minutes, but other cars that are starting to fill up all the spots. The street parking, which for the last 3 weeks and even into jury selection, beyond that in early March, was never filled.
What up, bro?
Shout outs Mike Jones. What up, though?
He's about to get smoked.
Man, we gonna wait and see, bro. We gonna wait and see.
15 years in PC.
Huh?
15 years in PC.
15 years in PC.
Definitely.
No harm done to him while he's doing his time. Nobody be able to reach him or anything. He'll be safe.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow. He's gonna be an old looking man when he get out. If he get that time.
Yeah, the verdict came back quick. That's good news.
Thank you so much, Danny. We have Charmaine here, who is amongst the crowd there.
Shout outs to Mike Jones, ladies and gentlemen. We got Mike Jones on the panel. He's weighing in on what he think is going to happen. Mike Jones said 15 years PC. Protective custody.
Right now, he has set this up since we've got here. We're going to pull him in now. Sir, hi, how are you? Good. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing here. I know you're real busy right now.
I'm just selling some masks and T-shirts and things, or just some support, and just so we can have things being in solidarity on the same page with what we're trying to do as far as just trying to understand that all lives matter, not just Black lives, all matters. I just pray we can just come together as one. And I just pray, regardless of the outcome of this situation, we do not tear this city up, because we deserve to handle this in a better way.
And I was out here.
Shout outs, we got Lake Speed in the chat. Shout outs Lake Speed and Lisa Speed.
When I heard the makeshift of the decisions when they come down, we read at 4 o'clock, and someone told me that, and I just said, I'm going to get out here and see if I can just, do the best I can with what I'm working with. This city's not overthrown with a lot of negativity, like it has, the board up, and all these things. It's really sad, though, that we have to resort to that way to find justice. I pray that we don't have to tonight.
Well, thank you so much. I know you're busy, so I'll let you get back to work. But like I said, he's selling masks, he's selling materials, and this is just what
Shout out to
we've been seeing out here,
91787
not just today,
Press.
but during the earlier protests. There are groups out here, not just the growing
Mike
crowd,
D.
there are vendors, there's Twin Cities.
We are
Police,
waiting
they're providing
the
food
Derek
to people
Chauvin
here.
verdict,
So right
ladies
now,
and gentlemen. Any minute now we waiting on this. It should be coming through any minute. I'm navigating through like 4 live feed sources as we wait.
let you know what's going on. Back to-
And let me know, what you are seeing and hearing there.
New York and New York City, and yet stores have boarded their windows. There are people gathering in small groups. Many people. It's very quiet.
Shout out to Ryan Anthony.
Waiting. I know that.
What do you think the outcome's going to be?
Anxious. When we first heard.
So what do you think the outcome's going to be?
Well, I mean, they're going to find him guilty. I just think that I don't think he's going to get that much time, Mike, to be honest with you.
Oh, no, lesser charge?
I think he's going to get like the 12. Because the mandatory, the guidelines, if you haven't committed a crime or anything, you got a clean record, you can be sentenced to 12 years. It does carry up to 40, but I think he's going to get the 12, bro. Or he might even get lesser from the lesser charge. What is it? The third? What is it? Manslaughter, right? Yeah. He might even get they were saying he might even get less than that if he just gets found guilty.
Altogether.
What'd you say?
They'll probably do 5 altogether.
Well, I tell you one thing, them people out there in front of that courthouse ain't gonna stand for it.
And I know for a fact, social justice comes from the.
Plasma, you think he's going to be found not guilty, Plasma?
I've talked about race and criminal justice.
One more time, Mike.
I still know that.
I'm talking about Plasma Burns.
He won't get convicted of murder because they can't prove intent. Manslaughter at the worst. That's what I was just saying, and I think that carries like what, 4 to 6 years or something like that. Because they were saying 43 to 57 months or something like that.
Wow.
That's 4 to 6 years. 12 times.
And what, 3 years with good time?
12 times 5 is 60, so that's 60 months. 5 years. It's crazy, bro.
How much time a good time, though?
I'm not sure. Even less, though. Even less. Maybe at 4.5. They don't really do good time. That good time ain't all good time. You still do majority of it.
Did you see what the judge said about Maxine Waters, though?
Yeah, I don't think what she said bears any weight on the trial.
It was crazy how he said that, though, how he brought that up, saying that they have a grounds for appeal to turn it over.
Yeah, and she didn't mention anything about. She has a right to speak. At this point, obviously, she didn't incite any violence because they would be coming at her. And
is the judge allowed to say that?
It was the judge's error.
Impartial. He's supposed to be impartial.
He should have sequestered the jury. If he didn't want the jury to hear these things, he should have locked them up in a hotel. Cut the Wi-Fi. Shout out to Big Will.
Yeah, but even him telling Chauvin that he has grounds for an appeal, like he shouldn't be able to do that. Even though it's probably logical to the lawyer, you know what I mean? He's going to do it anyway, but it's like for you to come out your way and say, yeah, you have a grounds for appeal now to turn it over. That was a little crazy.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, right now you're looking at a feed from Unicorn Riot. He's he's right there down at George Floyd Square, 38th in Chicago. We are waiting for the verdict. The verdict is expected very shortly. We're tired of this shit, and trial is over.
Y'all genius. Y'all waiting on somebody else to tell y'all. Yeah.
shout out to Mr. Bloody Wolf Guy.
It's a very psychological thing that's happening here.
Prosecute the police. Say what? Prosecute the police. What the? What is what this? What are they?
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm navigating all around the World Wide Web to bring you coverage of this verdict, to bring you coverage of the people who are outside the courthouse awaiting the verdict. They said OJ trial was the trial of the century. So far, I would say this is the trial of the century.
It's not a crime that occurs as a result of negligence. And that's where the higher mens rea and the higher state of mind would come in terms of what you would have to prove. So the prosecution is not proving that he doesn't need to prove that Officer Chauvin intended to kill. The intent would go again only.
And remember, ladies and gentlemen, these are the counts that he was charged for. Let me put that back up real quick. And I'm going to red ball it back up to speed. But 1 count second degree murder, up to 40 years. 1 count third degree murder, up to 25 years. 1 count second degree manslaughter, up to 10 years in prison. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't have a criminal record, if you're squeaky clean, you get much less time than what it says. The sentencing guidelines say you can get much less time. 1 count second degree murder, up to 40 years in prison, but he can serve 12 because of his clean record.
Second degree is only 10 years maximum. That's great. I know that.
A successful defense, but just to say it is a much lower standard than premeditated murder.
Better not be that second degree, man, or the riots is gonna happen.
It's the resistance, man. Y'all getting it here first. Y'all could have got it from anywhere else, but y'all chose to be here, and I love y'all for that. Shout out to Kingdom Jerusalem. He says he's a Mason. He will walk.
I haven't seen any evidence of that.
So they're taking their sweet old time to deliver this verdict, ladies and gentlemen. But we right here. We are right here. We're going to check this shit out. Shout out to Unicorn Riot for giving up great coverage of this trial. Not only the trial, but, you know, the riots that happened last week, protests, the rallies. This feed right here is delivered to you straight from Unicorn Riot. Shout out to Banana AFANA.
There's some provocateurs in there.
Oh, of course. Of course. For this one, of course. They are there and they are planning. They're ready to start some shit. Shout out to Line Elevation TV.
Where's Antifa?
Mine Elevation TV is responding to Kingdom Jerusalem's comment. He said, Kingdom Jerusalem said that Chauvin would walk because he's a Mason. Mine Elevation TV doubled back and said George Floyd was a Mason and he didn't walk. He was murdered. Karen McGinnis, I'm definitely cool. Shout out to Luke 37, Free Church Press, Karen Cantanoa. Appreciate y'all being here to catch this Chauvin verdict.
Levied against Derek Chauvin.
It was because of the protests from individuals, groups around the country and in Minnesota, working with lawyers who said, why don't you have all of these charges? They would have had fewer. I mean, keep in mind, the reason why we have a special prosecutor in the first place was because the district attorney at the time said that
shout out
they were
Harvester of Sorrow. No problem, my man. This is what I do.
And so it was because the outrage of the people in the community, the videotape, and the people, pundits like myself, who said, what are we doing here? How can you not have
about them and their identities. We know, of course, right now that they, for their own safety, they're being kept anonymous. It's up to the judge, correct, to decide when their names would be published and their identities known. I think all of us feel to them the responsibility. We know how high the emotions are on both sides, and it seems that we know that the defense attorney has
shout out Chicago fan 76.
Former home was vandalized in California. There's a lot of emotion around this.
We got Truth Seeker in the house.
Well, it is Derek Chauvin's constitutional
Truth Seeker,
right.
hit that link. Come on up.
That the jurors
weigh in on what you think about the verdict.
The
should be coming up in about 3,
exists
2,
are like mob cases.
1.
Where literally the jurors' heads are, on a hit list when a mobster is being brought into trial. In the Noor case, they waited a full year before the judge released them in that case. And I think it's fair to say by the time that they released those names that those jurors were in no danger. Okay, but I'm sure they were very worried. But I think that the argument could be made that there were not people that wanted to go and get them for their verdict. It'll be tough for Judge Cahill in this case to decide at what point it's safe to release those names, but he's made it clear that it will happen at some point.
Lou, thank you so much. Let's check in one more time with Charmaine. She was down at the Hennepin County Government Center. Charmaine?
Hi, yes, we've been out here for at least the last hour, but I want to take you right to what we're seeing now. They're chanting no justice, no peace. A large crowd out here. You can see just how many people. Hundreds of people, a lot of media, a lot of people that just came to the scene holding signs that say justice for George Floyd, Black Lives Matter. So you can tell this is very organized. People got out just within the hour.
These people are gathered outside the Hennepin County Courthouse, ladies and gentlemen. We are awaiting the verdict of Derek Chauvin. What will be his fate? Will the people be satisfied? Can we trust the process?
Pursue what they were expecting, but you can see the emotions out here. Lots of signs, lots of diversity, a lot of groups out here.
Y'all make sure y'all share this, man. Get this out to everybody. You got a lot of people that still don't know what's going on. Y'all make sure y'all share this and be sure to hit the like. It's the resistance.
Hit the likes. Everybody about to get killed out here. Like it for everybody.
Right now, I want to say there's good energy out here. A lot of people are just waiting, gathering for that verdict to come. Back to you.
All right, Charmaine, thank you so much. We appreciate your perspective on the ground and being our eyes and ears there. We want to bring back.
What slavery is real here. And slavery still exists. And slavery exists right here, right now, today, in Minnesota. This is a slavery state. It is. They kill our people, and they throw it on the hand. But not no more. Not no more. Not no more.
Shout out to 37. In my opinion, I think he may get anywhere between 5 to 12 years. Luke 37, hit that link. Come on up. Tell me what you think he's going to get.
If you don't have your money history, how do y'all know? Nobody don't know how to make history. The black people made history in the state of Minnesota. It never happened in no state you ever been to. Who is that name? Who is that name?
Shout out to Nick Land. Haywood Jablomini.
Changed life. This man, that was the best of it. So it starts with him, and it's gonna end with us. Everybody say us.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm navigating through all our feeds that's covering this Derek Chauvin verdict. I have about 4 feeds up, 4 of the most constant feeds, direct feeds.
And he pushed toward having, if it had been a civilian upon civilian murder.
We're waiting, ladies and gentlemen. They're taking that sweet old time, and we're waiting right here. Y'all hit the link, man. Come on in. Come on up on the panel and weigh in on what y'all think is going to happen.
Thank you.
Shout out Mr. Bloody Wolf Guy.
And Jessica, thank you for sticking around with us a little bit longer. I just want to point out we're looking at these live.
It's 5 o'clock, ladies and gentlemen.
Show the crowds beginning to gain in strength and in number. Very, obviously very peaceful, holding signs. There's some people with bullhorns speaking to the crowd, but of course, everyone waiting with bated breath. I mean, the whole country, the whole world, waiting on this verdict. It will. Whether we want it to or not, so much hinges on this decision, doesn't it, Jessica?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I, from so many miles away and so removed in so many, I very well understand, so removed in so many privileges.
Please be sure to share this, ladies and gentlemen. This is a pivotal moment in time. This is history right here, ladies and gentlemen. Share this to those who are asleep.
Will take plea bargains, will take plea deals. Officer Chauvin had, in fact, agreed to a plea deal in this case during the Trump administration. So he agreed that he was going to serve in federal prison. And there was a plea deal, it was made. And because it was in federal prison, Attorney General Barr had to sign off on it. And he said, you know what, I don't want to sign off on this. I don't want to tell the Attorney General who's taking over this case what to do. I want to let them go ahead and charge the case if they want to. But one of the things, for all of us to remember is that Derek Chauvin, I think, very much understood that this was a strong case against him. He did agree to plead to significant time in prison. It was in exchange for other charges.
Shout out to Oregon Road.
But that particular plea bargain was unraveled by former Attorney General Bill Barr. And that's why we're all sitting here on the edge of our seats. That's why this case ended up going to trial. And I just looking at these images, I mean, I do have...
You're looking at live coverage outside Hennepin County Courthouse.
Verdict. And obviously in Los Angeles...
we're waiting, ladies and gentlemen.
A huge deal, and it does bring back these memories as well.
That is great background. I just want to point out that according to our Jamie Yugas, Hennepin County government employees have been ordered to go home for the day for their safety. So I think they
have closed things early. I'm pretty sure they're expecting an uprise after this verdict. So law enforcement is securing areas in the area. They've shut down many businesses. Everybody's awaiting this verdict, ladies and gentlemen.
It's become, in some ways, I think, all too familiar, where when I used to be on site teaching, there would be some moments where we would hear, you know what, I think that we should all go home today. We probably shouldn't be in downtown Los Angeles right now. I don't know if you can hear it at this point, the helicopters are getting louder. So I am not only seeing it on television, but I'm also experiencing what I think, what I suspect is kind of a heightened level of tactical awareness. Again, so many thousands of miles away, which just shows.
First thing that sort of is the bellwether moment in that trial for a juror.
Well, there were a couple things that I think you could point to. As a group, we know that there were a group that tended to not get into the news or not follow the news on what was happening in this case anyway, because they wouldn't be on the jury if they were deep into it. Second is We know when they were brought back on that Monday, a group of them came back and they said they heard something and they turned it off right away. So as a group, they stayed away from everything, or as much as they could on this case. And then suddenly, boom, they got weeks of the videos over and over again, and the experts over and over again, and people talking over again. So they got a lot of, for people that originally turned away from it, a lot of information along those lines. For me, big points that came up in the trial were when we saw George Floyd inside Cup Foods. We got to see him alive. You don't normally experience that. Did you get a chance to see somebody who the case is involving a dead person, but you get to see a bunch about him when he's alive that just is minutes before he dies. The point when they heard the defendant talk to Mr. Williams on that tape, that was an opportunity for them to hear him at the scene right after it's happened and make some determinations on what that felt like. I wonder what effect it had on.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Now, inside the courtroom, as you can see there, Judge Peter Cahill
it's going down.
Taking his seat at the bench.
Everybody share this.
I assume the jury is in as well, since our court camera is now focused on the judge. It's moments away now from that verdict being read. Let's just stop and listen to see what the judge has to say.
Look at his bitch ass, scared than a motherfucker.
All right, for the jury.
He damn near jumped out his seat.
All right, please be seated. Members of the jury, I understand you have a verdict. Members of the jury, I will now read the verdicts as they will appear in the permanent records of the 4th Judicial District. State of Minnesota, County of Hennepin, District Court, 4th Judicial District. State of Minnesota Plaintiff versus Derek Michael Chauvin, Defendant. Verdict, Count 1. Court File Number 27, CR 6. We the jury in the above entitled matter as to count 1, unintentional second-degree murder while committing a felony, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April, 2021 at 1:44 p.m.
Whoa!
Signed, juror foreperson, juror number 19. Same caption, verdict count 2. We the jury in the above entitled matter as to count 2, third-degree murder, perpetrating an eminently dangerous act, find the defendant guilty.
Oh!
This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April, 2021 at 1:45 p.m. Signed by jury foreperson, juror number 19. Same caption, verdict count 3. We the jury in the above entitled matter as to count 3, second-degree manslaughter, culpable negligence, creating an unreasonable risk, find the defendant guilty.
Oh!
Day of April 2021 at 1:45 p.m. Jury foreperson 019. Members of the jury, I'm now going to ask you individually if
it's a celebration, y'all.
Please respond yes
guilty
or no.
All 3 counts.
Juror number 2, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 9, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 19, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 27, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 44, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
You're
Juror
done,
number
buddy.
52, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes. It's
Juror
okay to
number
cry.
55, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 79, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 85, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 89, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 91, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 92, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Are these your verdicts? So say you one, so say you all.
Yes.
Members of the jury, I find that the verdicts as read reflect the will of the jury and will be filed accordingly. I have to thank you on behalf of the people of the state of Minnesota for not only jury service, but heavy-duty jury service. What I'm going to ask you to do now is to follow the deputy back into your usual room, and I will join you in a few minutes to answer your questions. and to advise you further. So, all rise for the jury.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Guilty on all 3 motherfucking counts. You're done. How you like that for justice? Everybody sing along. Hey there, Mr. Chauvin, that's your ass. Your ass is grass. That's your ass, that's your ass. Woo! Hey there, Mr. Chauvin, that's your ass. Your ass is grass. That's your ass, that's your ass, that's your ass. Hey there, Mr. Chauvin, that's your ass. Woo! Your ass is grass. That's your ass, that's your ass. Hey there, Mr. Chauvin. Hey there, Mr. Chauvin. Hey there, Mr. Chauvin. Hey there, Mr. Chauvin. That's your ass.
Juror number 79, is your true and correct verdicts? Yes. Juror number 85, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 89, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 91, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 92, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Are these your verdicts? So say you one, so say you all.
Yes.
Members of the jury, I find that the verdicts as read reflect the will of the jury and will be filed accordingly. I have to thank you on behalf of...
Yeah, look at this bitch ass motherfucker. Look at it. Look at the eyes. Oh, he's disappointed. This is exactly what you deserve, you piece of shit motherfucker. You got what you had coming to you. You fucked up. Now you gotta pay for it. Hey there, Mr. Chauvin, that's your ass. You fucked up, buddy. Your ass is grass. Now do the time. That's your ass, that's your ass. Woo! Hey there, Mr. Chauvin. Hey there, Mr. Chauvin.
Anticipation of this moment, a moment that has riveted so many in this country after that video widely circulated of George Floyd was shown in its entirety. There you see the Black Lives Matter sign being held by some of the demonstrators.
Shout out Sport Dirt Farmer.
Their support.
Beverly Trader.
The family.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just getting to the You Resistance channel, check this out. Derek Chauvin guilty on all counts.
9 seconds that Derek Chauvin's
Juror.
all counts. We are waiting to see what reaction we will get.
Shout out to Lady D.
We're
Y'all make sure y'all share this.
State of Minnesota, Keith Ellison,
Definitely hit the like. If you like what you're seeing, you want to see more. Any type of officer involved corruption, tyranny, it's going to be on this channel, ladies and gentlemen. You come here for it.
We have been watching her all afternoon. She's CBS News legal contributor and a professor at Loyola Law School. Jessica, I was so struck in listening to...
We got Sim C in the chat. He feels as though it's not fair. Hey, Sim, I'm going to put the link in the chat. I want you to come up and tell me why you don't think it's fair. That should be coming up in 3, 2, 1.
I think the prosecution put on a very strong case, and actually is to think about the fact that all 3 counts here were for unintentional murders. And what we saw on that videotape is that George Floyd died as a result of what happened. I mean, this is my opinion, that he died as a result of what happened in that.
And last but not least, the final blow, the coup de grace. Sentencing, ladies and gentlemen. And y'all knew y'all could come to the Resistance channel for the sentencing. It's the resistance. You get it here first.
Right, but I think so many people felt that the criminal justice system had not, for lack of a better way of saying it, betrayed them this afternoon.
And, you know, as we have been watching and waiting to see what, in fact, the jury had decided, Jessica, I was thinking about some of those moments on the part of the defense trying to make the case that, in fact, this use of force by Derek Chauvin was justified. What did you see from a legal perspective as the defense attorneys tried to make that argument? That
Three more to go. Yeah, that's your
9
ass.
minutes and 29 seconds.
That's your ass.
What we know now is that it was not a persuasive legal argument. You know, in terms of what do I think of them making the argument,
We got 3 police officers that are awaiting trial, ladies and gentlemen. We have just witnessed Derek Chauvin's ass on the chopping block. Now we got 3 more. Y'all day is coming.
now obviously it wasn't particularly persuasive. I think one of the big problems for the defense is that you
Hey there, Mr. Chauvin. That's your ass. Did I see something about Mexican Floyd in the chat? Did I see something? Oh, okay, Mexican. Eric Brandt is a clown. Oh, wow. Wow. Let me read some of this chat. Chuck Derby. It is about time the people speak out and bad cops are held accountable for their bad actions. That's by Chuck Derby. Haywood Jablo Me. Smoking back to back for Floyd. Hey there, Mr. Chauvin. That's your ass. Your ass is grass. That's your ass. That's your ass. Keebler no sugarcoating truth. This verdict is proof the system is broke. Verdict was made last year. Time to examine the motives for the agenda. Well. Keebler no sugarcoating truth. I have only one thing to say. Hey there, Mr. Chauvin. That's your ass. Your ass is grass. That's your ass. Shout outs to Sub Grappling 805. It's always a pleasure for me to give y'all this information. Shout outs to Eric Brandt Show. We got Eric Brandt in the house. What up, bro? Big Will. Ladies and gentlemen, you have just witnessed right before your eyes the verdict of the Derek Chauvin trial. It was his ass on all 3 counts. Now we await 3 more officers to come to trial, so it can be their asses on all counts. It's a beautiful day, ladies and gentlemen, here in America. Justice has been served. I agree with you, Manolo Chavez. But right now, we celebrating the moment. We living for the moment right now. George Floyd has gotten justice. George Floyd's family has gotten justice. This is what we wanted to see. His ass on the chopping block. Hey there, Mr. Chauvin, that's your ass. Your ass is grass.
I think that we're gonna board him up. We brought him up last year.
Live from George Floyd Square, 38th in Chicago. The people gather around Cup Foods. How long do you think Cup Foods will be around, ladies and gentlemen? Cup Foods. They were the people who made the call about an alleged fake $20 bill.
To be here to take that in with you. So thank you, Billy. Thank you. All right, again, Billy Hill, the owner of Urban Touch Barbershop.
Do you think Cup Foods will stand the test of time? Will they still serve the community where George Floyd was killed then? In my opinion, fuck Cup Foods.
I'm sure if we get the opportunity to interview a juror, they will say no, absolutely, the pressure did not play a role. It's impossible to know, if that really does play any sort of role. But I mean, they are in a bubble while they are sequestered and so forth. They know that this is going on outside, but they don't know to the extent that we know.
The people out there celebrating. Look at them, y'all. Flags flying. Happy as hell. Derek Chauvin, ladies and gentlemen, has been found guilty on all counts.
Thank God, people saying, finally some justice. But we also have people who are saying, okay, we got this verdict, but, this is just the beginning, and we really have to do the work to make sure that this doesn't happen again. There are issues that are not solved just because we got 3 guilty verdicts today.
Absolutely.
And I know Jana has many people that she's spoken to in the community who said the very same thing.
Well, Governor Walz spoke to it this week. I mean, there a lot of criticism to the governor's office after the police response to the Dante Wright shooting, and I think that is the point. The point is that after George Floyd died, or after George Floyd was murdered, it is a murder now. Derek Chauvin is guilty of murder. The legislature did not pass as significant of reform as a lot of people wanted. And so now
was going to be a guilty verdict on all 3 charges, that he can prove to his son that justice system will work for him, something they said.
Shout out to Ira Z.
Another man was almost overcome with emotion over what he's feeling today, having heard the guilty verdict on all 3. Really, just a lot of emotions. The second
Zachary McPherson, what's going
there was
on?
a massive eruption of cheers coming from in here.
Committed to you, first with breaking news and breaking weather. Fox
10. Ultimately, your job is to fight for your client. So Eric Nelson's job is to file an appeal for Derek Chauvin for the Court of Appeals. Ultimately, the Court of Appeals.
Shout out to Renetta Williams, the queen.
Wrongdoing in this trial, and the Court of Appeals always will return it, and he will get a new trial. But that'll be up to the Court of Appeals. And that'll be up to a
Dan W. said he had the inside scoop.
If your client gets convicted, especially he's facing up to 40 years in prison, he has to appeal, or that's malpractice on the attorney not to.
And let's talk about, Ben, the jury members, because as we know, when they were all being going through the process of being interviewed, being chosen, some of them, every single one of them was asked, later down the road, when it's a safe, appropriate time, your name will be put out public. Now, what happens for these jury members after this verdict? Are they going to be stepping out into the spotlight? Are they going to be signing book deals? What are they going to be doing?
It's going to be
a very psychological thing that's happening here.
Even a movie deal. So some jurors are going to go out there and promote themselves and give their first interviews and write books. And there's some jurors out there who don't want the spotlight. They're going to go home, try to remain hidden, and maybe even move out of Minnesota after this long trial. So yes, every juror right now, there's no rules or regulations of what the jurors can do. So if the juror wants to do a press conference, wants to write a book, do a movie deal, whatever, they will do that. So you will see some jurors coming out because everybody wants to know what were in the minds of the jurors when they discussed this case and what were they thinking.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you have just been part of history. We have witnessed Derek Chauvin's ass turning into grass. Guilty of all 3 counts. It's real. To all law enforcement out there, I want to let you guys know we're on your asses. Legally. Y'all go ahead and keep doing that dumbass shit. And you will be Chauvin. You will be Chauvin. Everybody sing along with me, please. Hey there, Mr. Chauvin, that's your ass. Your ass is grass. That's your ass, that's your ass. Hey there, Mr. Chauvin, that's your ass. Ass is grass. Your ass is grass. Hey there, Mr. Chauvin. 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 That's your ass. Your ass is grass. Shout outs, James Saff.
That was guest host time with my Alicia.
Yeah, don't see too many trolls in the chat.
GFS.
2 weeks now, they was going hard. Where are you guys? Your man Chauvin? That's his ass. We want to hear from the trolls. All trolls, please hit the link. Come on up. We want to hear what you guys got to say. 3, 2, 1. Please, all trolls, you are welcome to come on the Resistance panel. Talk the shit that you've been talking for the past 2 weeks. Matter of fact, talk the shit that you've been talking for almost a year. We want to hear it. We want to hear it and we want to laugh because we know what you have to say is not relevant. Oh, yeah. Hey there, Mr. Chauvin. That's your ass.
This is a caretaker. Picking things up. So he just put all the money.
George Floyd Square, ladies and gentlemen, 38th in Chicago, Minneapolis, Minnesota. There's all kinds of money on the ground, ladies and gentlemen. All kinds of bills on the ground that they threw on there. In the location of where George Floyd was murdered. Have a little situation with the feed right now. This is coming from Unicorn Riot. Please stay tuned. Hang on in there. It should be coming right up.
Ain't no way I'm gonna let the devil's playground interfere with this godly land again. Because I promise you, I can't touch it. I can't. I can't touch it. Like my body is like projecting any energy from this money that came out. Like for real, it's like the energy is all bad. The energy be good, but this money gets where it belongs, baby. But I can't touch it. It's like so people. It's so people to me right now. Straight up. A lot of people in the community who know what this money's supposed to do, but this money gotta go to the right.
Another thing that we've been hearing is that people in this community feel like there's a big weight lifted off of their shoulders. A lot of people feel like there is a lot of relief after that verdict. We even saw people, used to be a gas station, obviously, and at one point there was a sign.
Shout out to Aussie John.
A little bit closer so we can see where this sign that says for George Floyd. So before the verdict that said justice for George Floyd trial, okay? Now that says justice served. You see that at the bottom. And again, a lot of tears, a lot of excitement. At one point when that verdict was reached, we saw people drop to their knees, just crying and throwing their hands up. And again, the main sentiment here is that a lot of people in this community feel like there is a big, big sigh of relief. Back to you.
All right, Minnie Hicks, 38th in Chicago, an emotional release there for a lot of people. Thank you, Minnie. And we want to go to Karen Scullin, who's in downtown Minneapolis, outside the Government Center with a crowd there. And Karen, you spoke with Maurice Hall, George Floyd's friend who was with him that day, that he lost. And go ahead, Jim.
This area, guys, what are you feeling right now in this moment?
Oh man, I'm just overloaded with joy right now. Super, super happy. I can't even put it in words. I'm still just like so caught off guard. But it feels really, really good. It's a big victory for us.
Why did you guys feel the need to be out here today?
Well, I mean, Cubs have been my cornerhood store since I was like a little kid. Been coming here all the time. There's been problems at Cub, but like it never results in the police kneeling on a man's neck for 9 minutes straight. That was messed up.
So this is your neighborhood. You've been out here day in, day out. Talk to me about what the last year has been like as you've been waiting for this moment today.
Oh, it's been full of anxiety for sure. Been out here all the time though, you know. George Floyd Square is still booming, and it's been like. I'm sorry, I gotta grab some.
We got some people that are making it rain out here, if you will. They got dollar bills that are flying in the air here under the crowd. So,
right? Tell me what you think, how this is going to play out.
You know, and ultimately, I think that just like Kanye had said, this is God. God prevailed, and that it was His justice in the end. I think with all of humanity, I think that we're going to come together as a unity, one, as a collectiveness. I think that the time is now that we start having more love and care out there for each other, and not just throwing a cold shoulder. I think that this is a big time for evolution for us for the human race. Us down here on planet Earth. So. It was beautiful seeing the clouds open up and the sun shine through, so it was, just that kind of little second push to know that we are loved outside of the justice system. That was God's justice right there. And, and and us being vulnerable out here, being vulnerable just as, with everything that's been going on with COVID and everything, a lot of us were really.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's put the spotlight. We got a spotlight that we're going to put on Jimmy Dean. Jimmy Dean is upset, guys. He can't face the fact that Derek Chauvin asked his grass. So I'm going to highlight this comment. Are you going to riot to celebrate? You need to ask your Antifa friends about that, Jimmy Dean.
I think it's a beautiful thing because over the history says that, these kind of cases get thrown out. The guys that look like me or get shot down by the police are considered criminals, and that their lives don't really have any value. And today we found out that our lives do have value. Yeah. And the other part about that is that now we have to release that anxiety that I once had that doesn't have to be transferred to my grandson when he decides to get behind the wheel and go outside in public.
Oh, no, Jimmy Dean. Don't switch it up now. Now he wants to say pee on that piggy. But first he wanted to ask us, are we going to riot to celebrate? No, we're on your ass, Jimmy Dean. We don't like those comments, but we will give you freedom of speech in this chat. You haven't been disrespectful, so you can speak as much as you want. But we are on your ass. No, you don't get away with that one, Jimmy Dean. Here we go again. Let me highlight Jimmy Dean's comment. Are you going to riot to celebrate? You need to be going out there asking your Antifa friends that. Jimmy Dean. I don't care what you are, Jimmy Dean. I never said what you are. I'm telling you, you need to go out and ask your Antifa friends, are they going to riot?
A lot of folks who were, even right before the verdict, you could feel the anxiety and the intensity that was going on. Definitely that has been lifted. The girls are kind of firing up out here. And as these
Shout out to Byron Harmon.
George Floyd
joining us from Facebook. All you Facebook people, I appreciate you guys joining in. And if you want to know where this is actually being broadcasted from, you can go on YouTube, The Resistance. The Resistance. I'm everywhere in public. I'm a black man with a camera, and I always bring the juice.
he is asking for peace because George Floyd would want peace. So everybody wanting it to be not a chaotic, unrestful night, but rather a peaceful night.
Jimmy Dean, I don't care at all. Only thing I care about is your account in this stream at this moment.
We do know we're going to get a reaction not only from George Floyd's family, but we'll also get reaction from his civil legal team as well as other civic leaders in the city of Minneapolis. Courtney Godfrey standing by outside the Hennepin County courthouse there, the government center where this verdict came down about an hour ago now. Courtney, I know you got a chance to talk to some people there on what this means beyond just this verdict.
Yeah, Randy, I just happen to be standing next to several city council members. I've got Philippe Cunningham with me now, city council member Philippe Cunningham. Philippe, this verdict came down. How are you feeling for this city?
Yeah, for both our city and honestly the country as well, just feeling immense relief, joy that, the Black community's value is reflected at least in this decision. So folks can.
So for those who are not familiar with the courts, there is going to be an appeal. That's how it goes down. It's his right to appeal. Okay? If his lawyer doesn't put in an appeal, he can put in for insufficient counsel, ineffective counsel. It's part of the process. What we're concerned about is him being found guilty on all three charges. Yeah. Sing along with me. Hey there, Mr. Chauvin, that's your ass. Your ass is grass. That's your ass, that's your ass, that's your ass. Hey there, Mr. Chauvin. 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 That's your ass.
Police department and rebuilding a new public safety system. How does this verdict help that cause?
I think that this verdict is more for the city.
Courtney, we got to cut you off here. We're going to hear from the legal team, the prosecution, the state's legal team on this verdict. Attorney General Keith Ellison now taking to the podium.
Legal team on deck, ladies and gentlemen. Let's listen then. Legal team on deck of the prosecution.
General Keith Ellison. He is flanked by the legal team that put this case together, the prosecution.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Keith Ellison. I'm the Attorney General of the state of Minnesota. And since the investigation and prosecution of this case began last May, everyone involved has pursued one goal: justice. We pursued justice wherever it led. When I became the lead prosecutor for the case, I asked for time and patience to review the facts, gather evidence, and prosecute for the murder of George Floyd to the fullest extent the law allowed. I want to thank the community for giving us that time and allowing us to do our work. That long, hard, painstaking work has culminated today. I would not call today's verdict justice, however, because justice implies true restoration. But it is accountability, which is the first step towards justice. And now the cause of justice is in your hands. And when I say your hands, I mean the hands of the people of the United States. George Floyd mattered. He was loved by his family and his friends. His death shocked the conscience of our community, our country, the whole world. He was loved by his family and friends. But that isn't why he mattered. He mattered because he was a human being. And there is no way we can turn away from that reality. The people who stopped and raised their voices on May 25th, 2020, were a bouquet of humanity, a phrase I stole from my friend Jerry Blackwell. A bouquet of humanity, old, young, men and women, black and white, a man from the neighborhood just walking to get a drink, a child going to buy a snack with her cousin, an off-duty firefighter on her way to a community garden, brave young women, teenagers, who press record on their cell phones. Why did they stop? They didn't know George Floyd. They didn't know he had a beautiful family. They didn't know he had been a great athlete. And they didn't know he was a proud father or that he had people in his life who loved him. They stopped and raised their voices, and they even challenged authority because they saw his humanity. They stopped and they raised their voices because they knew that what they were seeing was wrong. They didn't need to be medical professionals or experts in the use of force. They knew it was wrong, and they were right. These community members, this bouquet of humanity, did it again in this trial. They performed simple yet profound acts of courage. They told the truth, and they told the whole world the truth about what they saw. They were vindicated by the chief of police, by Minneapolis' longest serving police officer, and by many other police officers who stepped up and testified as to what they saw and to what they knew. What happened on that street was wrong. We owe it, and we owe our gratitude to fulfilling we owe them our gratitude for fulfilling their civic duty and for their courage in telling the truth. To countless people in Minnesota and across the United States who joined them in peacefully demanding justice for George Floyd, we say, all of us, thank you. In the coming days, more may seek to express themselves again through petition and demonstration. I urge everyone to honor the legacy of George Floyd by doing so calmly, legally, and peacefully. I urge everyone to continue the journey to transformation and justice. It's in your hands now. I also want to address the Floyd family, if I may. Over the last year, the family of George Floyd had to relive again and again the worst day of their lives when they lost their brother, their father, their friend. I'm profoundly grateful to them for giving us the time we needed to prosecute this case. They have shown the world what grace and class and courage really look like. Although a verdict alone cannot end their pain, I hope it's another step on the long path toward healing for them. There's no replacing your beloved Perry or Floyd, as his friends called him, but he is the one who sparked a worldwide movement, and that's important. We owe our thanks to the men and women of the jury listening to the evidence, weighing the facts, rendering a verdict. They are regular people from all walks of life, a lot like that bouquet of humanity on that corner on May 25th and in that courtroom. They answered the call, and they served in a landmark trial. They now deserve to return to their lives If they ask you to respect their privacy, we ask you to honor that request. I want to acknowledge the remarkable team that helped us prosecute the case. We put everything we had into this prosecution. We presented the best case that we could, and the jury heard us, and we're grateful for that. We had the sole burden of proof in the case, and history shows that winning cases like these can be difficult. I'm proud of every hour, every minute, and every ounce of effort we put in this case. And let me tell you, we spent many hours working on this case, did we not? We, week after week, committee meeting after committee meeting, this team never let up and it never quit. We fought every day and we did it together. The Attorney General's office together with the Hennepin County Attorney's office. Thank you, sir. And we did it together. I'm deeply grateful to everyone who worked on the case. Most of these folks will tell you it's a bad idea to put together a team of all Michael Jordans. Nobody would want to pass the ball. This team, that was their true strength, is sharing the load, passing the ball, understanding that all of us together are smarter than any one of us alone. And that worked. Although the verdict has been rendered, this is not the end. In the coming weeks, the court will determine sentencing, and later this summer, we expect to present another case. We will not be talking about that. This verdict reminds us how hard it is to make enduring change. And I just want to finish by sharing some important historical legacy, if you allow me. In 1968, the Kerner Commission was formed to investigate the causes of uprisings across major American cities. And a man named Dr. Kenneth Clark, a famous African-American psychologist who, along with his equally accomplished psychologist wife, Mamie, contributed to compelling research in the Brown versus Board of Education case. And Dr. Clark testified at the Kerner Commission. And I want to quote you what he said. I read that report, the one in the 1919 riot in Chicago, and it was as if I were reading the report investigating the committee of the Harlem riot in 1935, the report on investigating the Harlem riot in 1943, and the report of the McComb Commission on the Watts riot. I must say again in candor to you, the members of this commission, it's like a kind of an Alice in Wonderland with the same moving picture reshown over and over again, the same analysis, the same recommendation, and the same inaction. Those are the words of Dr. Clark in 1968. Here we are in 2021. Here we are in 2021, still addressing the same problem. Since Dr. Clark testified, we have seen Rodney King, Abner Louima, Oscar Grant, Eric Garner, Michael Brown, Freddie Gray, Sandra Bland, Philando Castile, Laquan McDonald, Stephon Clark, Atiana Jefferson, Anton Black, Breonna Taylor, and now Dante Wright and Adam Toledo. This has to end. We need true justice. That's not one case. That is a social transformation that says that nobody's beneath the law and no one is above it. This verdict reminds us that we must make enduring systemic societal change. More than a month ago, months before George Floyd was murdered, the Minnesota Public Safety Commissioner John Harrington and I released the recommendations of our working group on reducing deadly force encounters with law enforcement. What all of us in that working group, including law enforcement, wanted is for everyone to go home safe. Anytime someone doesn't, everyone's lives are changed forever. We need to use this verdict as an inflection point. What if we just prevented the problem instead of having to try these cases? We don't want any more community members dying at the hands of law enforcement and their families' lives ruined. We don't want any more law enforcement members having to face criminal charges and their families' lives ruined. We don't want any more communities torn apart. One way to prevent this is to get into a new relationship where we as a society re-examine the use of force and our old settled assumptions. I'm so proud of Chief Arredondo and the Minneapolis police officers who by their testimony said enough is enough. And another way to prevent it is by acknowledging and lifting up everyone's humanity, helping communities heal, and officers be well. Another way to prevent it is with accountability. Passing laws and instituting policies and training is important, but they must be more than words on paper, and there must be accountability for violating them. With this verdict, we have brought some accountability. Finally, this verdict demands us to never give up the hope that we can make enduring change. Generations of people said slavery would never end. Generations said Jim Crow would never end. Generations said women would never be equal to men. Generations said if you were different in any way, you could never be a full and equal member of our society. Today, we have to end this travesty of recurring, enduring deaths at the hands of law enforcement. Those beliefs are things we have to focus our attention on. And as I now do close, I just want to say to you, the work of our generation is to put unaccountable law enforcement behind us. It's time to transform the relationship between community and the people who are sworn to protect them from one that is mistrustful, suspicious, and in some cases terrifying, into one that is empathetic, compassionate, and affirming. That will benefit everyone, including police officers who deserve to serve in a profession that is honored, in departments where they don't have to worry about colleagues who don't follow the rules. Now that work is in your hands. The work of our generation is to put an end to the vestiges of Jim Crow and the centuries of trauma, and finally put an end to racism. We can end it. It doesn't have to be with us into the future if we decide now to have true liberty and justice for all. The work of our generation is to say goodbye to old practices that don't serve us anymore and to put them all behind us. One conviction, even one like this one can create a powerful new opening to shed old practices and reset relationships. So with that, I just want to say that I do hope that people step forward and understand that nobody can do everything, but everybody can do something. You can do something the way like everyday people like Donald Williams and Genevieve Hansen and Christopher Martin and Charles McMillan and all those teenagers and young people stepped up and did something. You can do things like help pass the George Floyd Justice and Accountability Act. It's in your hands. Let's get the work done. And now I'd like to invite my friend and partner in justice, Michael Freeman, Hennepin County Attorney.
Jimmy Dean, listen, man, nobody's trying to say what didn't happen to the Native Indians. This is George Floyd's time now. This is his time. This is the verdict of the Derek Chauvin trial. Let this man have his time and let his family have his time, Jimmy Dean. I have no problems bringing you up on the panel for you to talk about what they did to your people. But right now, we're talking about what happened to George Floyd and the verdict that was brought forth on Derek Chauvin.
Their use of experts, evidence, and witnesses left the jury no alternative but to find Mr. Chauvin guilty. We and the people of Minnesota should rightly be proud of these four and your entire staff of volunteers and assistant attorney generals and the jobs they did over the last 7 weeks. I'm also proud from the moment that the Hennepin County Attorney's Office charged Derek Chauvin with murder and manslaughter 4 days after George Floyd's murder, our team worked long hours side by side with the Attorney General's team. Managing Attorney Gene Burdorf did legal analysis and writing. Assistant Hennepin County Attorney Joshua Larson did witness prep and strategy development. And Vernona Boswell, manager of our Victim Services Division, has been in direct contact for nearly a year now with the family of George Floyd. Victim and witness advocates Jessica Immerman and Keith Johnson managed all the witnesses civilian and professional. My two deputies, Lolita Ioa and Andy Lefevre, and I supplied strategic advice and coordination to this talented team 24/7. These guilty verdicts against Mr. Chauvin cannot be the end of the conversation about officer killings of civilians. We need to prevent these killings in the first place. The Minnesota legislature, as it moves into the final 3 weeks of the session, must pass a number of bills that will make policing fairer and safer for all, but especially for Black men and women and other people of color. I've been lobbying legislators to pass these critical bills. If they fail, then it will be time once again to have a statewide task force to hold hearings and come up with model legislation intending to put an end to these deaths. I am prepared to be part of that fight. Again, Keith, great job.
Thank you, Mike. And now I'd like to ask the trial lawyers to share some thoughts if they have any. But before I do that, I'd like to myself thank a number of people. And I'm just going to start by, why don't we just have our trial lawyers come forward, and then we'll thank our whole team. So, Jerry, Steve, which one do y'all want to do?
Thank you, Attorney General Ellison. And when I say thank you to Attorney General Ellison, I want to thank you for calling me back into public service, which is something that I was able to do as a federal prosecutor, as a state prosecutor, as an assistant county attorney in the United States Army. When I left private practice, I thought those days were behind me, but I received a call, and it was from Keith Ellison. And he gave me the opportunity to step back into public service, something that is so important to me, something that I cherish. And I would just encourage anyone, if you get a call like that as an attorney, it's a privileged life, it's a noble profession. And if somebody calls you and they ask you for help, don't overthink it. Just do it. As I found in my career, you get a lot more than you give. I'm honored to have stood with the Floyd family, to stood with the state of Minnesota as we go through this painful process together. And it's been my privilege to practice with this incredible, gifted trial team. And so I stand here today in gratitude. I'm thankful. I want to thank the jury for their service, for doing what was right and decent and correct and speaking the truth and finding the right verdict in this case.
I'm Jerry Blackwell. My comments are going to be fairly brief. I want to first say thank you to all of these selfless servants that you see standing here and the many more that you do not see, who had the willingness, the courage, the passion, the intestinal fortitude to get into good trouble. They stepped into the light and they shine. And for that, I say thank you. I'm grateful for them. I'm grateful for the opportunity that I've had to serve. Now, no verdict can bring George Perry Floyd back to us. But this verdict does give a message to his family that he was somebody, that his life mattered, that all of our lives matter. And that's important. And I also hope that this verdict, for all of the rest of the collective, all of us, will help us further along the road toward a better humanity. Thank you all.
I can't really follow that too much, but I just want to say that it's been really a privilege to work with this awesome group of dedicated, hardworking people in this endeavor. But it's also been just a total privilege to get to know the Floyd family and spend time with them and get to know them. Because first and foremost, this is for you, George Floyd, and your family and friends. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So let me also thank very publicly Aaron Eldridge, who was part of our trial team, who's not here today, but was indispensable. Lola Velasquez Agalu, thank you, Lola, for a wonderful job that you did. Josh Larson, Josh, thanks so much, my friend. Zuri Balmakam. Thank you, Zuri. And Natasha Robinson. I want to thank you and the next generation of justice seekers. Dion Dodd, I want to thank you. Dion, where are you? Thank you very much. And I want to thank you, Vernona Boswell, who are a star. And I also want to thank so many other people. But with that, we're going to close our comments right now and just say that we're prepared to continue to pursue justice. Thank you.
All right, once again, we were listening in as the prosecution team, the team that we've been listening to these last few weeks during the Derek Chauvin trial, did say at the end there, I don't know if you caught it, but he said, this one's for you, George Floyd, for your friends and for your family. So we continue to get live pictures coming into us from Minneapolis. Here is a live picture from 38th and Chicago. You can kind of see there on that right-hand side of your screen, Cup Foods. Again, that is the last location that George Floyd was in. And once more, for those of you who are joining us here on News Now from Fox, we do know that Derek Chauvin has been charged and has been found guilty of all 3 counts of second-degree unintentional murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter. So we continue to keep you covered here on News Now from Fox. Do want to show you just another picture that we do have also coming into our desk here as the community around Minneapolis, around the Twin Cities, continues to come out and show their support. As you can see, a lot of people have been filing in around the courthouse, around also the 38th and Chicago scene. And so what we're going to do is go back into some of our coverage with Fox 9 Minneapolis, as they do have a reporter out there in the middle of the crowd.
Chauvin's eyes looking right at us. Today, in many ways, it is the public, a jury of his peers that was looking at Derek Chauvin. Someone who has also been here from the very beginning in this neighborhood is Alfonso Williams. He is the CEO of Agape, a church that's right over here. Not CEO, I'm sorry. Elders. And Steve Floyd, also with Agape. Tell me where it goes from here. Obviously, one of the messages from the crowd here today has been, this is the beginning. Where does it go for your work here at 38th and Chicago?
Well, it's exactly what you said. It's the beginning. It's the beginning of a long journey. Right now, we got one conviction, or 3 convictions with one of the officers. We need convictions for the other 3, and we're also waiting on Dante. So we got a lot of work to do right now.
Let me ask you, Steve. You know, there's been a lot to talk about 38th in Chicago. What does the future hold? There has been violence here. There has been a safety issue here. What do you think the future holds for this particular intersection over the next few weeks and really months and years ahead?
It's totally a positive thing, because even through all of the trauma and things that we've been through out here, and watch the community develop and come together till we understand, after 10 to 11 months, we understand what it means to be community. I mean, we understand what it means for people to be in their place and do what they have to do. Well, we don't need police. That's one of the things we learned out here, is that what it will be like without police. And we fought through it. And in that fight, it developed a community to say, hey, we're going to continue to build. And that's what we are about, the Agape movement. And our motto is transforming street energy into community energy. So all of the people that was in gang involvement and doing those things, that we transform in their lives and giving them all type of training with mental health and everything. So it's a positive future to build for this whole community.
And historically, the 30s were kind of Blood's territory back in the day, but it's a whole new group, much younger, much different. We had an interesting discussion, Alfonso, before we went on camera, talking about the role of police in neighborhoods. I think there are communities that are saying, defund the police. We need the police. We need to protect the police to protect us. Can those two truths stand together? There are people who want police protection, and there are people who are afraid of it. How do we hold on to those two mutual truths from different groups? How do we navigate that?
One of the things that we're asking for in our community is to have police in our community that's from our community, that's familiar with our community, that knows the way the community is ran and knows the different trends of different people in the community. Most of the time, we got officers that come here that know nothing about the community. So they come here with chips on their shoulders, mad, scared, and just kill it. And we're tired of it. were scared like me. I'm scared if an officer even pulls behind me right now. So I mean, it's just it's traumatic, man. So that's one of the main things. We need people that look like us working in our community.
As you said, it's a beginning, right?
It's a beginning.
All right. Alfonso Williams, Steve Floyd, thank you very much. They're with Agape. Just one final note for you. I was struck by people's reactions afterwards. I went around, asking them what they thought. And I was really struck by a woman with her child. She had tears in her eyes and her young son. And she said, I thought it was important that he was here today. I think it's important for him to see this and the reaction here at 38th in Chicago. She said this is very much history that we're witnessing. Back to you guys.
And Tom Lydon here at 38th in Chicago, the scene of George Floyd's death, the scene of a big gathering tonight. And again, Keith Ellison saying, our Attorney General saying that a bouquet of humanity, that's the people that stood up for George Floyd in that.
Once again, we were listening into Fox 9 Minneapolis coverage, but I do have a shot I want to show you.
The answer would really depend on what that verdict is. All we know right now is that the verdict is in after 10 and a half hours of deliberations, and it's unanimous.
Yeah. Another thing that we're hearing out here in the crowd, they're saying their fight isn't over. They are still working for racial justice. One man with a bullhorn just announced, we now need to go to Brooklyn Center. Of course, that is the site where Dante Wright was shot and killed by a police officer on April 10th. Some of the worst protests we've seen was in Brooklyn Center over the last 8 days. So the crowd here is not finished. They will continue their protesting, their fighting, they're seeking for racial justice. The law enforcement, of course, is out in force. They will also not be resting tonight. The protests that we've seen so far, Mike, are peaceful. That could change on a dime. We've certainly seen that. But right now, just joy in the streets from the folks here.
And not knowing what the future held, because so many families went and got nothing. They thanked God when they got the indictment, which would not have happened had not the Attorney General, Keith Ellison, took this case. And Keith Ellison fought and put together a team that made this possible. And this is the first time in the history of this state that a white police officer has been convicted, less known convicted of a murder. This is the first time in a long array of fights that we've seen 3 counts, guilty at all 3. We don't find pleasure in this. We don't celebrate a man going to jail.
Shit,
we
I
would
do.
rather George be alive.
Amen.
But we celebrate that because young people, white and black, some castigated, many that are here tonight, marched and kept marching and kept going. Many of them looked down on, but they kept marching and wouldn't let this die. And this is an assurance to them that if we don't give up, that we can win some rounds. But the war and the fight is not over. Just 2 days from now, we're going to have to deal with the funeral of Dante Wright in this same county, the same area. We still have cases to fight, but this gives us the energy to fight on. And we are determined that we're going to fight until we make federal law the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act must be law. We want to thank all that were involved, especially the Attorney General and the governor and others. We want to thank President Biden, who the first time he came out of his house during the campaign, he flew to Houston and met with the family and Attorney Crump and I. And he sat there, and I will never forget, he said to George's daughter that I heard you say your father is going to change the world. Well, we can now tell George's daughter she was right. Her father has begun the changing of the world for real. But before we do anything, we first want to pray and thank God. But somehow God made a way. He had mercy. We believe in a God that can even get through the cracks of the jury room and bring conscience and bring truth. And that jury, we want to thank them for letting God give them the strength wherever they are tonight. We want them to know we broke down in tears when we heard the verdict. We had to hold each other and hug in tears because too many nights we've cried. Many of us for decades spent nights in jail. But today we can wipe our tears away and fight on for another day. There's sunlight. We're going to keep going till we bring it for the Eric Gardners and the Breonna Taylor, whose boyfriend is here tonight. Kenny Walker, Sean Bell, so many that did not get this night. This night is for them. Let us pray. Let's lock arms and pray like we can, folks. Come on, brother. Where's Malone?
The rep.
Yeah, come on. You and Rodney, come on. You know you're hiding now. Brother Chris, get next to the Attorney General there. Let's pray.
In the mid-1980s. The TV host and actor Sharpton is revealing how he worked with the FBI in the mid-1980s. The TV host and activist said yesterday that he did record conversations with alleged mobsters. The Smoking Gun website has documents calling Sharpton a confidential informant for the Bureau. At a news conference yesterday, Sharpton insisted he wasn't a rat.
In my own mind, I was not an informant. I was not and am not a rat because I wasn't with the rats. I'm a cat. I chase rats.
Sharpton said the only embarrassing thing about the new revelations are, quote, those old fat pictures.
Bless the prosecutor, Keith Ellison, and his staff that did their job, even though they didn't know what the outcome would be. Bless Ben Crump in a special way that worked tirelessly, that jumped on planes and left his family to make sure that justice would rain down. Thank you for all of the civil and human rights leaders that stood up. And we thank
In the 1980s, the Smoking Gun website is reporting that the Reverend Al Sharpton, a.k.a. President Obama's #1 cheerleader, that he worked as an FBI informant spying on New York mob figures back in the 1980s. And the report, which was featured on the cover of today's New York Post, said Sharpton secretly recorded conversations that he had with the mob. Earlier today, he responded to those allegations during a press conference. Take a look.
I was not and am not a rat because I wasn't with the rats. I was never told I was an informant with a number. So in my own mind, let me say that I want to bring on now a man who has symbolized the fight for justice. He didn't seek the role, but he rose to the occasion. America, for many years, didn't have someone to stand for us. The last 4 years, we didn't have an attorney general's office that would even hear our cry. But we had been raised to believe that God always has a ram in the bush. And God has a way of taking the most humble of people and raising them up. We had an attorney general in Black America that has represented these cases with the act.
Specialist Ivan Lopez opened fire after.
Former documents on the Smoking Gun website allege that Sharpton secretly recorded conversations with mob figures in the 1980s using a bugged briefcase. Sharpton says the FBI never told him he was an informant.
USA Today looks at it.
Your mentorship, not only for being a great civil rights leader,
but for being a moral authority, especially making sure no matter what happened, that we always maintained the moral high ground, knowing that we were on the right side of history as we fought for justice for George Perry Floyd Jr. Say his name. George Floyd. I am but a member of a great team of very talented attorneys. And I'm going to acknowledge them. Yeah, we got the Omegas and the Kappas, Reverend Jackson, and the Alphas. That's right. I want to acknowledge these great group of lawyers and then the family members. 2 or 3 of the lawyers will address you. And then at that time, we will hear from the family members before we take any of your questions. I want to acknowledge a great lawyer from Chicago, Illinois, one of the best I've ever had a chance to work with, Attorney Tony Ramanucci. I want to recognize my partner on the front line in this case, one of the best lawyers at being on them. He hails from Atlanta, Georgia, Attorney Chris Stewart. His law partner, Attorney Justin Miller, Attorney Madeline Simmons, a great Minnesota lawyers, Attorney Jeff Storms, raise your hand, Jeff, Attorney Michelle Godot, and who else we got here? Everybody else? We have Attorney Scott Masterson, who's not present. Attorney Pavani. I said Michelle. We got Michelle. And just a great group of lawyers. And I want to let you know who we have present here with the family here in Minneapolis for this historic day. We have George Floyd's brothers. We have Phalonis Floyd. We have Rodney Floyd. We have Brandon Williams, who's George Floyd's nephew, but was more like a son to him. They call him Woo back in the 3rd Ward. We have Keita Floyd, Phalonis' wife. We have, where Terrence at? Yes, New York, where you at? We got Terrence Floyd. His sisters who are not with us, but we should absolutely acknowledge Bridget Floyd, who hails from North Carolina, his sisters Latanya and Jaja, who hail from Houston, Texas. We have his cousins, Sharita McGee, Deidre McGee, and Tara Brown. And we have the mother of his daughter, Gianni Floyd. We have Roxy Washington, and we have Gianna. And so I'll make some brief remarks, and then we're going to have Attorney Stewart. Angela, cousin Paris, and Uncle Selma, Vince. Any of my Floyd family. I know it's a big crew. AD, the man he came to Minneapolis with, and Darren. So I'll make some brief remarks, and then we're going to have Attorney Stewart and Attorney Ramanucci make some brief remarks, and then we're going to hear from this family, and we're going to try to leave here today knowing that America is a better country. America, let's pause for a moment to proclaim this historical moment, not just for the legacy of George Floyd, but for the legacy of America. The legacy of trying to make America for all Americans. So that George Floyd's victory and America's quest for for equal justice under the law will be intertwined. America, let's frame this moment as a moment where we finally are getting close to living up to our Declaration of Independence, that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equally, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that amongst them are life and liberty in the pursuit of happiness. Well, America, that means all of us. That means Black people. That means Hispanic people. That means Native people. That means Asian people. That means all of us, America. We frame this moment for all of us, not just for George Floyd. This is a victory for those who champion humanity over inhumanity, those who champion justice over injustice, those who champion morals over immorality. America, let's lean into this moment and let's make sure, Reverend L, that this moment will be documented for our children yet unborn as they continue on the journey to justice, knowing that the blood of George Floyd will give them a trail to find a way to a better America, a more just America. A more just America where Breonna Taylor gives an opportunity to sleep in peace at night without the police busting in her front door. A more just America where Ahmaud Arbery gets to run free and not be lynched for jogging while Black. A more just America where Jacob Blake and Anthony McClain and Walter Scott and Laquan McDonald and all these other Black men, Terrence Crutcher, who was shot in the back while running away like Dante Wright was just a week ago, because for some reason, Black men running away from the police is more dangerous than young white men who commit mass murders and walk towards the police with an assault weapon, Reverend Bryant, like Kyle Rittenhouse in Kenosha, Wisconsin. America, let this be the precedent. Let this be the precedent where we live up to the high ideals and the promises when we say liberty and justice for all. Those sun-kissed children are included in all. Those children who overcame slavery, the Middle Passage, the Dred Scott decision, Plessy v. Ferguson, Jim Crow, and his much smarter, wiser son, Jim Crow Jr. Esquire. Let this be the precedence where we overcome systematic racism and oppression, and that we are a better people, and we will leave our children a better world for us all. At this time, we will hear from a great lawyer, because nobody does this alone. It's always a team effort. And we have the lawyers, the preachers, the civil rights leaders, the education leaders, the activists. Let's give a big round of applause for the activists. The people who stayed in the streets, the people who came nationally, but more importantly, the people who were here locally, who were standing up for George Floyd on 38th and Chicago Avenue, day in and day out. Silky, the people who wouldn't go home, wouldn't stay quiet. Reverend Jackson, the people who followed your example.
Yes, I think you're
I for about $35 a kilo. But I gotta get, more than one. Right. I mean, we're gonna do this thing. I mean, 10.
Al Sharpton himself. Take a look at this.
I can get it for about $35 a kilo. But I gotta get, more than one. Right. I mean, we're gonna do this thing. I mean, 10 kilograms is like $350,000. That's a drop in the bucket. We can go bigger. Every kilogram we bring in 3,500 Gs. Doesn't sound. So if we bring in 10, you make 3,500. That's the chicken pocket. And then we can what he's going to do, we can do it, 100 times over. Like we'll supply it 100 times over.
Now, that video is reportedly from 1983, and after it aired, Al Sharpton threatened to sue HBO for millions of dollars. The Smoking Gun website is reporting that the Reverend Al Sharpton...
Because days like this don't happen. The whole world should not have to rally to get justice for one man. But that's what happened. This wasn't a city case. This wasn't one family's case. This was the entire world's case. And justice finally came. But it shouldn't have to be so hard to attain this level of justice in cases like this when we can see with our own eyes. The only difference is the color of the skin. And that's the change that we all want. That's not a change that's outrageous. Yes, law enforcement have a dangerous job. They have to carry a spear and a sword and a shield. But all too often, African Americans only get the spear or the sword. We need more of the shield. Because this is not a case against every officer. My life was saved by 2 law enforcement officers years ago. So I will never throw every cop under the bus. But we will put more cops in jail when you kill someone for no reason, just because they're black. And we can find a unifying purpose between law enforcement and the African American community by changes, starting with the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. A beautifully written bill that will help protect the community and solve policing. And the main question is, will we let politics? Because that's what happens. Republican or Democrat, you're going to stick to your side.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen?
As Rev has been
It's
saying,
the Resistance.
and save people so that you don't have to board up your own cities for situations like this. And if not, we'll see you next time when it's time to vote. You've seen what's happening across this country. You shouldn't have to be so happy when you finally get it.
All right, y'all got it here first. Derek Chauvin, guilty of all counts. How y'all feel about that? It's the Resistance, man. It's a happy day today. I appreciate y'all rocking out with me. Catching this information on the channel right here. We had a lot of things going on in the past 2 weeks, and I've been fortunate enough to bring most of it to you. Mass shootings, riots, excessive force by police. But today, we living for the moment, just for right now, and justice was served. It's like Mike Jones said, shout out to Mike Jones. Sentencing is another issue. What's relevant right now is that Derek Chauvin was found guilty on all 3 counts. Y'all make sure y'all stay tuned to the Resistance for sentencing of Derek Chauvin. I appreciate y'all. Give a shout out to everybody in the chat. Mr. Buddy Wolf Guy, Mike Jones, Otherwise to See, Spooky Press on Free, React by L, Anonymous Newfoundland, Ray Z, Lady Zaga, Kingdom Jerusalem, Eviscerations, Hush Harbor. Shout out to everybody that came through. I appreciate y'all. It's been very long since last year when George Floyd was murdered by Derek Chauvin. But the day we seen it, it was in front of our very eyes, ladies and gentlemen. We seen justice served. We even seen Chauvin's eyes when the counts were read that he was guilty. Yeah, we seen his eyes. He wasn't looking too happy. I'll make sure y'all stay tuned for egregious body cam footage. The latest on piece of shit cops that distribute corruption and tyranny. This is what I bring to y'all. It's the resistance. Y'all be good out there. Be safe. I'm about to hit the streets, y'all. I'm about to see what's going on out in these streets. Mike Jones, where you at, bro? I'll try to find some smoke, too. I'm about to hit these streets, see if they celebrating out here on these Boston streets. Looking into the eyes of a killer, ladies and gentlemen. He just got his slice of cake. Hey there, Mr. Chauvin, that's your ass. Your ass is grass. That's your ass. Hey there, Mr. Chauvin, that's your ass. Your ass is grass. That's your ass, that's your ass, that's your ass. Hey there, Mr. Chauvin, that's your ass. Your ass is grass. That's your ass, that's your ass. Your ass is grass. Hey there, Mr. Chauvin. 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 That's your ass. Your ass is grass.
Hit the lights. Everybody about to get killed out here. Like it for everybody.